Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into something really personal. A month-long diary from a man recovering from a bone marrow transplant. And let me tell you, this journey is anything but a straight line. It's a powerful reminder that healing is often a few steps forward, and then sometimes a huge, unexpected fall backward.
All right, so here we go. Our story kicks off on day 89 of his recovery. And he has this one crystal clear goal: return to work and to normality. But you can feel the hesitation, right? He says it himself. His energy is just super low. And that path ahead, it looks pretty daunting.
So, the first big challenge wasn't even about the work itself. Nope. It was just the simple act of getting to the office for a mandatory medical checkup. I mean, for most of us, that's just a commute, right? But for him, it was like planning an expedition.
And this right here, this really breaks down what a massive undertaking this was. You have to think about it. For someone whose energy is just completely wiped out from treatment, every single one of these steps, the drive, those long walks, that's a huge physical test. It's a journey he has to plan out so carefully, and he even admits he might have to bail at the last minute if he's just not feeling it. But even with all those challenges, you can sense this quiet resolve, this I will do what I can attitude. But, and this is a big but, it's all colored by his past. See, he remembers thinking he was cured last year, only to have a devastating relapse. And that memory, it makes him super, super cautious about getting his hopes up or planning too far ahead. Okay, but here's the thing. That first big attempt to get back out there, it's a success. And man, you can feel how that just sparks this whole new wave of hope. Day 94, this was a huge day. I mean, look at this list of wins. He successfully makes the whole trip. He gets the official okay to start working from home again. He even gets to reconnect with his colleagues, which he says was just a great pleasure. And on top of all that, his chronic intestinal issues stayed under control. This was a massive, massive victory. And you can just feel the mental boost from that win, Just 2 days later, he's back at work. He feels useful. He's helping his team. He's totally energized. Even his stomach issues stabilize. He feels so good he's taking the stairs 2 at a time. He says it himself, he is truly galvanized. So, on the one hand, his work life is getting so much better. But there's this medical mystery still hanging over everything. His digestive problems won't go away, his blood counts are all over the place, and the doctors are getting concerned. And that leads them to order the most important test of all. Right, so here's the bottom line. What was really happening on a cellular level? The doctors were worried enough to start talking about pretty invasive stuff like a colonoscopy to check for complications. But the real ultimate question was, were there any leukemic cells left after the transplant? And then, day 103, he gets the results. The incredibly detailed molecular analysis of his bone marrow comes back, and it finds zero evidence of that specific leukemia gene. I mean, wow. It is quite literally the best possible news he could have gotten. A huge emotional win. And he explains this really complex result with this fantastic analogy. He says a zero result is kind of like going fishing and not catching any fish. Now, that doesn't mean there are no fish in the lake, right? But it's still a really big deal. It's a huge relief, but it also means they've got to keep monitoring him, probably for years to come. Now, in the middle of all this, he stumbles onto something else, a possible medical error. He realizes he's been taking folic acid for a whole month longer than he was supposed to. And guess what one of the key side effects of too much folic acid is? Yep, diarrhea. The very thing that had been making his life miserable for weeks might have just been a simple prescription screw-up.
So let's just recap, right? He's got the best possible medical news. His work life is back. He might have even solved the mystery of his digestive problems. Everything seems to be on this amazing upward trend. And then, bam, the entire story just gets violently derailed.
It's day 108. He's had a good day at work, goes out for a walk, and on his way back into his apartment building, he slips on a wet step in the stairwell. He falls, and he falls hard. Hits his head, his back, his elbow. He actually cries out in pain. But what's almost as painful is what his neighbor does, or rather doesn't do. She sees him right before he falls, she hears the crash and his cries, and she does nothing. Just walks into her apartment and closes the door. Unbelievable. And just like that, in a single instant, the entire focus of his recovery shifts. It's not about the systemic internal fight against the illness anymore. Now it's about this painful, sudden physical injury that basically erases all the progress he just made. This really just captures the devastating impact of that fall. All that momentum he had, gone. That rising energy, it's replaced by total exhaustion from not being able to sleep. His new routine of working and walking, well, now he's just stuck in bed in pain. And all that hope he was feeling, it's just turned into frustration because the pain in his tailbone is so bad he can barely even sit up to work. There's this line from his diary on day 107, just before the fall, where he writes, "Unfortunately, I have to start the recovery all over again." And it becomes so tragically prophetic. He was talking about his fatigue then, but just one day later, his entire world shrinks again. This time, it's all about just managing basic pain and movement. He literally has to start all over. So, where does this diary leave us? Well, it leaves him in a place of just profound frustration. He's exhausted by the pain, he can't sleep. But this isn't a story without some glimmers of hope and persistence. Because here's the thing, despite this huge physical setback, there is still good news. The original battle, his internal recovery, that's still moving forward. A checkup on day 115 shows his blood counts are still trending up in the right direction. It's this crucial reminder of that massive victory he had just before the fall. And then, in the middle of all the pain and the frustration, you get this moment of just pure, simple joy. His doctor finally gives him the green light to start expanding his diet. And on day 115, after months and months of restrictions, he has a simple pizza. But it feels like this huge step toward that normality he's been craving.
And that's where the diary ends, with him fighting these two totally separate battles at the same time. You've got the long-term invisible war against the leukemia, where you measure progress with blood tests and lab reports. And then you've got this immediate, very visible struggle to heal from the fall, where progress is measured by something as simple as being able to sit down without pain.
This whole journey is just such a brilliant illustration that healing, it's not just about the big medical wins. It's about having the resilience to handle these totally unpredictable setbacks. It's about finding the strength to fight multiple battles at once. And it's about being able to find joy and measure your own progress in the smallest steps forward. Which really leaves us with this final thought to chew on. When the road to recovery is this messy and non-linear, what does progress even look like?